Is your fantasy baseball draft right around the corner, and are you looking for some must-have names? We have a few. Let's talk about them. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Next episode of the Fantasy Headliners, joined once again by Mr. Kyle Richardson. Today we're going to be talking about some must-have players. Kyle, how we doing?
Doing well. And the last time we did a must-have video, it was mixed emotions from a lot of people commenting below, but hopefully we have people who are just as passionate about this video.
Exactly. And being that you said that, I'm gonna throw an asterisk up here, and I'm gonna do it ahead of time so we can maybe avoid some hate mail. This is almost solely based off of ADP and the value that you can get some of these players. Yes, we do have some top tier players in here that we'll talk about, but a lot of times the ADP value that these guys are currently at is the reason we have them as must-own players, because you can get them at a cheaper price, get high value for them without the high, huge draft capital on draft day. Just want to make sure I threw that out there because this is, almost 100% based off of ADP and the value that you can get them at. Not so much guys that you should just take in your first 3 rounds.
That's a great point. Although I'm going to break that first point kind of with the first player that I bring up. But yes, great point. Guys that we really, really want to have, that we want to draft high, and other guys that are a must-have because I can get them at a really good price. I'm going to get great value for them. My first person, though, is not going to be a guy that you're going to get at a huge value because you're probably going to have to take him 3 overall to get him, and that's Jose Ramirez. The reason he's a must-own for me this year, and the reason I included him in this video, because I thought there were some really interesting statistics when looking at last season. Because last season, even though his power went up from 29 to 39 home runs, he dropped in batting average all the way down to 270. This is a guy that had the ability to hit over 300. And a lot of times when you look at that kind of a drop, especially a guy like Jose Ramirez, who is coming into his prime, that's entering his age 26 season this year. When you see a guy go from like 312, 318 down to 270, you think to yourself, oh, he's giving up some contact to get that extra power. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's exactly what happened last year. Now, his K percentage did go up slightly, just a tidbit, to 11.5 from 10.7% the year before. But his batting average of balls in play went all the way down to 252. That's 40 points below his career average. And that is why I think Jose Ramirez could be and would be my preseason vote for American League MVP.
Well, all right. To add on to that, if you're ever going to use the phrase balls in play, make sure you tell me ahead of time, because I am not mature enough for a statement like that. I'm just being real with you, Kyle. I mean,
batting average of balls in play.
I mean, I get it, but warn me next time because you caught me off guard a little bit. But no, totally agree.
Welcome to all the new viewers, by the way.
Hey, you're gonna have fun. I mean, that's what we can tell everybody. We told them on the draft strategy video, and it's the same thing. We're highly interactive, and we're trying to make fantasy sports fun. We're not gonna sit here and be monotone and boring. If Kyle says balls in play, more than likely I'm going to laugh. It's part of life. All right,
coming from the guy who said #give me Chubb all football season.
All football season. You better believe it. And I even made a shirt about it.
Chubb.
That's exactly right. All right, so you broke the rules, but I told people we had a couple top tier names. And I'm going to go a little bit later in the first round. His current ADP is 11.6. So right there at the end of most people's first rounds. And it's last year's NL Rookie of the Year, Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves. And I know a lot of people out there are talking about the possible regression. He only played in, 111 games last year, but he batted .293, had 26 home runs. He has that stolen base upside, so one of these 5 category guys. He had 15 of them last year. He's definitely somebody who has that 30 home run, 20 stolen base upside. You can get him there at the back half of the first round. I've already talked during my draft strategy video that if you have one of these later picks, I usually use one of them on a starting pitcher because I'm going to have to wait a long time for it to come back. If I can get somebody with the upside of a Ronald Acuna, pair him with my stud pitcher, that's something that I would look to do right there at the end of the first round personally.
Yeah, and so I like Ronald Acuna. I am a little bit worried about having to take him in the first round. But the one thing that I look at with him is he was pretty consistent throughout the season last year. So his batting average, it did dip down in May and July a little bit, but he finished the season strong. In August, he hit 336. In September and October, he hit 303. For a rookie, for a guy this young, you might expect him to get a little bit worse as the season goes on. Number one, because he's playing more games than he's probably played in his entire life, so he's might be breaking down a little bit. Number two, pitchers are adjusting to him a little bit quicker than what he can adjust to them, but he showed that he might be a little bit ahead of that. So I have him more valued as probably like a late second round pick. I don't know if I want to spend a first round pick on him, but I do think he is an excellent player.
Agree to disagree, Kyle. Next.
We kind of agreed.
Yeah, we kind of agreed.
A little bit of both.
We're close.
So my next player is a guy that I included is kind of an apology because I hated on him a lot last offseason. So one guy that I told people not to draft last offseason was Cody Bellinger. And the one thing that he didn't do that I thought he was going to do was his strikeout percentage was going to go through the roof because he didn't look great in the World Series his first season. And I thought maybe that pitchers had started to figure him out and that he wasn't going to be able to adjust as quickly. But he didn't do too bad last season. So his K percentage actually went down a little bit. It went from 26.6 to 23.9. And then his walk percentage was also down just a little bit, 11.7 to 10.9. So you'd like to see him walk a little bit more. Not that big of a difference for me. The concern, though, is that he didn't eclipse that 30 home run mark. And if you drafted Cody Bellinger last year, you drafted him for his home run upside. He hit 39 home runs his rookie year. He only hit 25 last year. So looking at that, that says, okay, is this a guy that just didn't play well last year or what happened? The one thing that I like to see from him, though, is his line drive percentage was nearly identical from 2017 to 2018. It was 23% in 17, 22% in 18. He was still hitting the ball pretty hard. He was still hitting line drives. He had a couple more doubles this year last year than he did the year before. So I honestly think that Cody Bellinger just had some bad luck with home runs last year. The ball maybe didn't carry out of the ballpark as much. Maybe he just didn't quite get under it as much as he would. And maybe there were some doubles that could have been out of the park. I expect the home runs to go back up this season. If you draft him, you're drafting a guy that, yes, you're getting probably only a 260 hitter that's going to strike out 140 to 160 times, but his current ADP putting him in that 44 area. If I can get him in the fourth round, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody who's going to have upside, especially in a lineup like that can produce a lot of runs. He's going to have more opportunities this year. It's a different lineup. I mean, Puig's out of town. I mean, we don't know what's going on exactly, with their entire starting lineup. And it's definitely something that we've seen it before. We know he's capable of it. It's just, taking away some of those outliers from last season and hoping that he can turn it around this year. I guess this isn't breaking a rule, but I'm going to talk about a starting pitcher. Now, I mentioned in previous videos and even earlier today that I like to get that stud right there if I have a pick at the end of the first round, early second. If you don't, and you can wait a little bit, I'm talking about Luis Severino of the New York Yankees. The last 2 years, only Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Chris Sale, Jacob deGrom, and Corey Kluber have a better ERA and more strikeouts than Luis Severino. And the kid's only 24 years old. He's playing in a lineup full of talent that can give him massive run support. Yes, he does not exactly play in a pitcher's park, but he's going to help you out with the strikeouts. His current ADP at 33 gives you a solid starting pitcher option, probably somewhere right around that third to fourth round, depending on your league and how pitchers go and how they're scored. He's definitely somebody with some high upside that I like this year.
Yeah, I held on to Luis Severino and for the longest time possible in one of my dynasty leagues, and then I traded him right before his first full season to get some veteran pitching help, and now I can't get him back, and I hate that.
Yeah, good job, Kyle.
Trades that we would go back in time to undo.
That's right.
Moving on to my next player is going to be, and again, this is one of those ADP values. This was a guy that I looked at and I said, maybe I should list him as a sleeper. But instead, I think that I need to actually put him in a must-have because his ADP is currently 158.6, But Ender Inciarte, center fielder from the Atlanta Braves, is a guy that I want to buy as much as possible this season. Last season, his name came up quite a bit. People talked about him before last season. Leadoff hitter there in Atlanta. Really thought he had a chance to have a really nice season, and it didn't happen right away. Got off to a decent start, hit 276 between April and March. But then after that, things didn't go so great. 239 in May, 235 in June, 260 in July. Not a lot better. But then he goes 286 in August, 292 in September and October. So as the season went on, he got better and better and better. So I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that he just didn't start that hot. But I don't know how you can't like this guy with where he's going to be hitting and in what lineup he's going to be hitting in, because the Atlanta Braves are here to play. This rebuild, I think, is officially done for them. And they are now, I don't know if they're NL East favorites, but they're going to be pretty darn close. He's going to be hitting leadoff, currently projected 23 stolen bases, hitting about 284. I'll take that. He's not going to strike out a ton, only 83 strikeouts, but he's going to be hitting in front of probably Josh Donaldson, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, Nick Markakis, Ozzie Albies. All guys that offer extreme, especially Josh Donaldson. If Josh Donaldson hits in the 2-hole for some reason, that is a major potential for Inciarte to go past 23 stolen bases up into that 30 mark, because there's going to be so many people that are focused on Josh Donaldson and getting him out, so you don't get into that real meat of the order for Atlanta. So I really like him as a great, great value. We talked about it in our draft strategy videos about finding those values at outfielder later. This is that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody you can get there in the later rounds, plug in your lineup, and really not have to worry a whole lot about, because for the most part, he's somewhat consistent. All right, I'm going to go with somebody. He's a little bit earlier. I didn't go quite as late as you, but I think he's kind of forgotten about a little bit, but we need to pay attention to it. It's Corey Seager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's coming off a Tommy John surgery, so we need to make sure we pay attention to it. He had hip issues also, so this is an asterisk. However, if he's healthy in that lineup and he's actually out there playing spring training race and he's ready for opening day, I mean, this is the 2016 NL Rookie of the Year, and he was an MVP candidate his rookie year. I mean, you can tell football season just ended, Kyle, because I saw that NL and the first thing I picked up was NFL. But I caught myself, and I didn't let it go, and you didn't have to point it out, so it's still a win for me. But he was great. 2016, like I said, MVP candidate, NL Rookie of the Year. 2017 had another solid year, batted .296, 22 homers, 77 RBIs. Didn't really get much of a chance to play last year. Had the Tommy John surgery. There is still a chance that he's ready for opening day. I mean, they're saying that he's going to be ready for opening day. He's kind of a little bit leery about it, but we still have time. You pay attention to it. Right now, his current ADP is an awesome 69. So make sure that you pay attention to that, because this is somebody who you could get in the 6th round-ish, 6th, 7th, depending on what happens. And you could possibly end up with a solid stud there in those mid rounds if he comes out and can be healthy for you this season. He's somebody that's going to get you close to, batting 300, 20 plus homers, 70 plus RBIs. Definitely a solid option you can get there in the mid rounds.
So let's say, and I'm just looking at some projections here. They're calling for 284 at bats. So more than likely at some point, he's not going to be back right away. But there are guys going in front of him at shortstop who I'm probably not betting on. Gene Segura is one of them in Philadelphia now. I like him, don't love him. But then Raul Alberto Mondesi is also in front of him as well from Kansas City. Neither of those guys I'm super pumped about taking in front of Seager. I wouldn't mind taking Seager at his current ADP, knowing what I could potentially get from him, and then spending a later round pick on maybe a guy like Jose Peraza to get my stolen bases. He has shortstop eligibility. Or maybe, honestly, let's go down a little bit further here. You could even get like a Paul DeYoung all the way down at like 233.4 to just fill in for that time. So I definitely wouldn't mind waiting on shortstop if I can get a really good value on Seager, especially if I miss out like on a Correa or Alexander Bogaerts, one of those guys, or even Gleyber Torres. I would make that move there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got some huge value. Just something we got to pay attention to here in the spring training months and see how he's performing, if he's performing, and what they're projecting him to actually start.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are definitely, that was all three of them, right? I didn't cut you off early.
Nope, that
Perfect.
was it.
All right, so those were 6 must-have players that we have so far. We will be doing more of these videos. This is not the only 6 must-haves. I'm sure we'll do a part 2 at some point. It's definitely a lot of fun to have these videos, but we want to get some interaction from you guys. Hit us up down in the comment section. Who do you think are some of your must-haves this year? Who are you looking forward to drafting? Who do you think is going to have a huge 2019 fantasy baseball season? We would love to hear it. If you comment down below, either myself or Kyle will get back to you. Like I said, we pride ourselves on being one of the most interactive YouTube channels out there. So if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. We look forward to hearing from you. We really appreciate the support. And make sure you go follow us on Twitter. Kyle at krich1532 and myself at Fantasy Headliners, FNTSY Headliners. We're very active on there. Also, Kyle puts up all kinds of awesome stats that I don't know where he gets them from, but they're cool. So make sure you go check those out. Really appreciate the support, though. You guys have a great rest of your week. And if you got any fantasy baseball draft questions, make sure, like I said, you hit them up down below. Really appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.